Hey everyone, it's Jananie and welcome back to my channel, This Story Ain't Over. Today I am bringing you yet another TBR video, so to be read video where I tell you all the books that I'm planning to read this month. So it is April and March was a chaotic month. I feel like I was still sort of recovering from that LA trip at the end of February and was behind on a lot of videos, but I feel like I got out quite a few videos that I'm really excited about and really proud of. So if you haven't checked out my previous videos from the last month or so, I would definitely go check them out. I'll leave some of my favorites linked below. So at the start of April, I feel like spring is on the horizon. I am so excited for the warmer weather and just cannot wait to curl up with some great reads. I don't know about you guys, but I personally really love reading outside as well when the weather is nicer, so I'm just so looking forward to that as soon as I'm able to do that. As per usual, my TBR for this month is super ambitious because, as we know, we strive for nothing less. But I'm really excited for basically every book on this list because there's some really good ones that I've been like putting off or been hoping to read for a while now, so I cannot wait to get to them. But before I tell you these specific books on this list, I did want to talk a little bit about today's sponsor, which is Book of the Month. So for those of you who have been watching my channel for a while now, you know that I absolutely love Book of the Month. They are a service that I can never stop talking about. Unfortunately, they are US only, but they are a great service if you are able to access them. So Book of the Month is a super popular, fast-growing online book service for readers. The way it works is that they vet hundreds of books each month that are coming out and curate a smaller list of books that you get to choose from each month to get in your blue Book of the Month box here. This way you spend less time searching for your next favorite read and actually just reading. Two of my favorite things about Book of the Month is that one, they have the best prices for new release hardcover books, and they also have a really awesome skip policy. So if you ever don't like the selections for a specific month, you can just skip that month and continue your subscription for later on. It's honestly one of the best deals you can get if you're a consistent reader and someone who just continuously likes to be on top of new releases, so I would highly recommend checking them out. So as usual, I'm excited to tell you guys the curated selections for this month for Book of the Month, and I'm so excited because the first one is actually a book that I've been raving about constantly and which I've already read and had an arc of and which I've been telling you guys about endlessly, and I hope that you will go pick it up. If you want to use my code STORY and grab your first Book of the Month box for only $9.99, you can actually grab this book for only $9.99 when usually it would be like a lot more. And that book is Kaigei by Vaishnavi Patel. I have been talking about this book endlessly for the past like 2 to 3 months, I think 3 months, and I just love this book so much. You need to go read it. For those of you who don't know what this is about and haven't seen my previous videos raving about it, it's basically a new take on the Ramayana, which is this ancient Hindu epic, and it follows a vilified queen from the epic who is sort of seen in a bad light, and that is Kaigei, and we are seeing her story from when she's a child until when she grows up and part of the epic itself. It's an amazing book and one of my favorite books of the entire year. So you should use my code STORY and grab your first Book of the Month box for only $9.99 and grab this book. So now that I've sufficiently raved about Kaigei and Book of the Month in general, let's talk about the other picks for the month. So the next one is a nonfiction, and that is Bittersweet: How Sorrow and Longing Make Us Whole, and this is by Susan Cain. I believe this is the author who also wrote Quiet, which is a pretty popular sort of self-help book as well. All right, the next book sounds super cool, and that is True Biz by Sarah Novick, and this book follows the hookups and academic pursuits of the students at the River Valley School for the Deaf. The next book is a thriller, and that is Like a Sister by Kelly Garrett, and this book kicks off when a Black reality TV star is found dead and her estranged half-sister is determined to figure out what happened. All right, and then the final book is The Good Left Undone, and this is by Adriana Trigiani, and this seems to be a bit of a historical romance, and it's set in World War II in Italy. Alrighty, so those are all the picks for Book of the Month for April. I'm so excited by all of these picks, and as you guys know, especially for Kaigei. So if you're in the US, I highly recommend going and checking out this deal. Use my code STORY and the link in my description and grab your first Book of the Month box for only $9.99. As I said before, it's a really great price and deal if you are someone who usually picks up new release hardcover adult books, so definitely go check out that deal. Thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to the books that I'm going to be reading in April. Alrighty, so first up on the list of the books I'm going to be reading in April is of course the Read and Color book club pick for the month. So for those of you who are unaware or who are new to my channel, I have a public book club called the Read and Color book club, and basically the mission of the book club is to read more books by BIPOC authors and add a little color to our lives. So each month we have a curated book that we're going to be reading for the book club. We discuss on an app called Fable. All the links are down below, We also have an Instagram as well. And each month I'm also joined by a co-host who shares the same background as the author of the book. And they join me for the live show where we discuss the book at the beginning of the next month. So for April, our book club pick is Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. And we're gonna be joined by Ishi from Ishi Time. I absolutely love Ishi. She's such a sweetie. And she was really interested in reading Empire of Sand. And I've been meaning to read this book for ages now. It is by a South Asian author. It is sort of an Indian inspired fantasy. And that's about all I really know about this one. I don't know too many details because I want to go into it a little bit blind because it is a fantasy. But recently I did read a newer book by this author, and that's The Jasmine Throne. This was fantastic. It was a bit slow to start, but it still was a really great read and I really enjoyed my time with it by the end. So I'm hoping that Empire of Sand will be equally, if not even better than The Jasmine Throne. So stay tuned, but I'm very excited for this one and I hope you guys will join me for the Reading Color Book Club. Alrighty, next I also have another book club pick, and this is for my Patreon book club. So if you don't know, I have a Patreon where some of my viewers can choose to support me in a small little way each month. And with that, they get some extra perks, including early access to some of my videos, exclusive videos, and also a monthly book club that I run with them where they get to vote on the book that we're going to read that month. And we discuss it throughout the month and then also in a live show at the end of the month. So for April, my Patreon book club pick is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I meant to actually read this book back in February, but I never got around to it because the month just sort of got away from me. But I'm so glad to be reading this with my patrons now because I feel like the last time we read a romance together, it was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to read another romance with them. This book is basically a romance between two writers who are in very different genres and met like 10 years ago, and since then have been sort of thinking about each other and sort of writing to each other in their books for the past 10 years. And they are meeting again at a convention and are spending 7 days in June together. It seems like it's going to be a really amazing romance and sort of heartbreaking as well. I have heard that there are some content warnings that people should be aware of, so just keep that in mind or search them up before you pick this up. But I'm super excited to read this one with my patrons. Alright, the next book is one that I'm picking up for someone else's book club, and that is Kayla from Books and Lala's book club, the Literally Dead book club. So the selections for the Literally Dead book club are usually mysteries and thrillers. So for April, the book club pick is All Her Little Secrets by Wanda M. Morris. I don't know too much about this, but it does seem to be a thriller. It follows a Black lawyer who gets pulled into this sort of dangerous conspiracy when her boss suddenly dies. That's about all I know, and I don't want to know too much more because it is a thriller and I like to be surprised by the thrillers that I get into. If you have read All Her Little Secrets, then I would love to hear what you thought of it without spoiling anything. Alrighty, the next book is one that I put on numerous TBRs before, and this time I'm determined to actually read it and finish it before the month is out. And that book is Circe by Madeline Miller. I feel like I've talked about this so many times, especially back in like 2019, I feel like, or 2020, when I had originally bought this book. I kept putting it on different TBRs and then never got around to reading it. But I really do want to read it now because after reading Kaigei, which I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it's very similar in sort of story structure to Circe. And so I was thinking, okay, maybe I should finally read this because I really did love Kaigei and I want something similar. This book deals with more Greek mythology. It follows Circe, who is sort of this witch character from the Odyssey. But this is definitely more of a feminist take and looks at the perspective of Circe herself from when she's a young child to when she is much older and during the events of the Odyssey as well. So many people have told me that they love this book and that it's their favorite thing. I know a lot of people also compare it to the author's other book, which is The Song of Achilles. I absolutely love that book, but I have heard that some people who loved Song of Achilles didn't love Circe, and some people who love Circe didn't love Song of Achilles. I feel like I'm going to end up loving both for different reasons, but I'm really excited for this and cannot wait to pick it up. If you have read Circe, let me know what you thought of it and if you think it was worth the hype. Alrighty, the next book that I have is one that I bought a while ago and have been meaning to read, and that is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. And this one I picked up mainly because of another booktuber, which is Elias. He's raved about this book before. It is by a Vietnamese author, and Elias is also Vietnamese. And I've heard it's just like a really heartbreaking part memoir, part fictional story. It is told in letters from a son to his mother. And I feel like it's just going to be a really heart-wrenching read, and it's also super short. And I'm kind of feeling in the mood for like short literary novels, so I'm excited to pick this one up. I would love to hear what any of you have thought of this book if you have read it, because I just have heard so many beautiful things about it and I feel like it's just gonna enchant me and I can't wait for that. Alrighty, the next book is one that I'm super excited for. I got it in a book of the month box last month, I think, and since then I've heard some really great things about it, so I'm hoping to pick it up this month. And that book is Cartographers by Peng Shepherd. This seems to be a bit of a thriller, and it follows a woman who finds this strange map in her deceased father's belongings. And as she starts to follow this map, she gets pulled into this sort of strange mystery and some dark secrets about her family. This seems like a really amorphous concept that I can't really pin down how I'm going to feel about it, but based on what I've heard about it, I think it's going to be pretty interesting, and it seems super mysterious already. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be really cool, and it does feel a little bit like a V.E. Schwab type book, like concept at least. So I'm excited to see if I'll enjoy it. If you have read Cartographers, I would love to hear what you thought of it, and let me know if it has any sort of magical aspect to it, because the description compares it to V.E. Schwab, but I don't know if it's just like the way her stories are sort of told or whether it's like the magical aspect as well. Alrighty, the next book is one that I think I hauled 2 hauls ago, and a lot of you commented that you love this author, and that book is Violetta by Isabel Allende, and this is a translated fiction, and the book follows our main character Violetta, who is born in 1920, and we are following her life from then until sort of the present and the 100 years of her life as she lives through multiple historical events and also 2 pandemics. I find this really, really interesting, and I'm sort of curious to see how the author sort of weaves in the whole pandemic of our recent days into this as well. But I'm also really interested in this as like a long history of this one woman and her life through all these historical events. So I'm excited to see how this goes. If you have read Violetta, I would love to hear what you thought of it, because I'm just so excited to pick this one up, and I'm just in love with this cover as well. I think it's just so gorgeous, and I'm just hoping that the story like manifests the beauty of this cover. Alrighty, and the final book that I have on this slightly ambitious TBR is Real Easy by Marie Rutkowski. I've talked about this multiple times before. I think this is one of my anticipated releases for 2022 because it's by an author that I absolutely adore. Marie Rutkowski has a YA series called The Winners Trilogy. It's a fantastic series, really interesting and really well written as well, which is why I was super excited for this, because this is her first adult novel and also her first thriller. And I feel like it's going to be fantastic just based off the concept alone. It's basically set in 1999 and follows a stripper at the Lovely Lady Strip Club. And from there, a murder ensues and a mystery abounds, and our main character gets sort of pulled into the conspiracy of it all and is trying to figure out who the murderer is. I feel like it's gonna be really interesting, and I really like breakneck thriller, and I've already heard so many amazing things from different authors who have blurbed this book, so I feel like it's gonna be awesome. But I'm hoping my expectations aren't too high. But if you have read this, let me know what you thought of it so I can sort of curb my expectations if necessary. And with that said, those are all the books on this TBR for April. I am so excited for spring and just like a new season and new things on the horizon. I'm about to be starting a new job, and I feel like I'm just really excited about all the content that I have for the spring as well. So I'm just overall really excited for all the things to come, and I hope you guys will be excited with me. As always, if you have read any of the books on this list, please let me know what you thought of them, because I love taking your thoughts into consideration before I pick up my books. And I would love to hear as well what you guys are planning to read in April, because I always get great recommendations from you guys. Huge shout out to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. Definitely go check out the deal down below. Use my code STORY and grab your first Book of the Month box for only $9.99. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you haven't already, go check out my Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, TikTok, and Patreon. There's some really great stuff there. I update you guys on my reading and what I'm doing on the regular on all those platforms, so definitely go check them out. I hope your reading for April goes well, and I will see you in my next video. So please remember that this story ain't over. Bye!